This is what we call the Atacama humanoid. First of all, I don't know what it is. Every scientist has looked at it and says, oh my God, it looks like an alien.
Beneath the Earth's surface, in the dark and silent depths of caves, some of the most unsettling discoveries have been made. Discoveries that still leave scientists scratching their heads. But what if some of these discoveries were never meant to be uncovered? Join us as we take you on a journey through the most creepy cave finds and explore the chilling stories that continue to baffle the world. Ready to dive in? Crystal Maidens. In the dense jungles of Belize, hidden away from the eyes of most people, lies a mysterious cave called Actun Tunichil Muknal, often referred to as ATM Cave. This cave was not just any natural wonder, it was a sacred site for the Mayan civilization, and its depths held a dark secret, one that would only be uncovered in the 1980s. This was the place where a chilling discovery took place, one that revealed how the ancient Mayans practiced rituals that many of us today can hardly imagine. The entrance to Actun Tunichil Muknal is hidden deep in the jungles of Belize, a place that would be hard to find if you didn't know where to look. In 1989, a group of adventurers exploring the cave stumbled upon something that would shock the archaeological world. They found an ancient burial site, but it wasn't just any burial site. It was a sacred place used by the Mayans to carry out religious rituals. As they ventured deeper into the cave, they discovered not just ancient pottery and artifacts, but skeletal remains, bodies left behind, some in disturbing positions and with an eerie atmosphere surrounding them. Among these remains was a young girl whose body had been preserved in an unusually well-kept state. She would later be known as one of the Crystal Maidens, a haunting name that came from the way her bones sparkled in the cave's dim light. The Mayans had a deep connection to their gods, believing that the gods controlled everything, life, death, and the forces of nature. To honor these gods and ask for their favor, the Mayans carried out many rituals, and one of the most shocking aspects of their religious practices was human sacrifice. They believed that offering humans, especially young ones, would appease the gods and keep the natural world in balance. The caves, like Actun Tunichil Muknal, were seen as sacred spaces, gateways to the underworld, a place where humans could reach out to the gods. Among all the remains found in Actun Tunichil Muknal, the discovery of the Crystal Maiden was particularly striking. This young girl's bones were unusually well preserved, and her body appeared to be almost completely intact. What made her even more remarkable was the way her skeleton seemed to sparkle. This was because the minerals in the cave had crystallized around her bones over the centuries, creating a dazzling, eerie effect. Her body was found in a ritual position, lying on a stone altar, and her presence suggested she was one of the most important sacrifices made by the Mayans. Some believe she may have been sacrificed to appease the gods of the underworld or to ensure the success of a significant event, like a battle or the harvest. But why her? What made her so special that she was chosen for such a significant role? We'll never know for sure, but the way her remains have been preserved over time adds to the haunting mystery surrounding her. The alien mummy. In the vast and barren Atacama Desert of Chile, an astonishing discovery was made that captured the imagination of scientists and conspiracy theorists alike. It all began in 2003 when Oscar Munoz, an artifact seeker, stumbled upon something extraordinary while exploring the desert. He discovered a small white bundle wrapped carefully in cloth. When he opened it, he found a mummy that looked like it had come straight out of a science fiction story. The mummy, later nicknamed the Atacama humanoid, or simply Ata, was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Measuring just 15 centimeters tall, roughly the size of a pen, it resembled a tiny human being with an elongated skull that was strangely out of proportion to its body. Most humans have 12 pairs of ribs, but Ata had only 9, adding to its mysterious appearance. Its features, including its oddly shaped head and small stature, bore a striking resemblance to the stereotypical image of an extraterrestrial being. According to Stanford University, Ata was human. In fact, the mummy was identified as the remains of a female child who had likely died shortly after birth. What made Ata so unique, though, was a series of rare genetic mutations. These mutations affected the child's skeletal development, leading to the strange features that made the mummy appear so alien. The elongated skull, reduced rib count, and small size were the result of these abnormalities, not evidence of extraterrestrial origin. The analysis also revealed that the child's mother was likely of Chilean descent and that the body had been naturally mummified in the Atacama Desert's harsh, dry climate. The white cloth it was wrapped in suggested that someone, possibly the child's family, had carefully prepared and left the body in the desert no more than 50 years ago. Despite the scientific findings, Arta's story doesn't end there. Some people still find the Stanford study hard to accept, believing there's more to the mummy than meets the eye. Critics have raised questions about the reliability of the DNA analysis and pointed out the lack of a complete explanation for Arta's strikingly alien-like features. This skepticism has fueled alternative theories, including the idea that Arta might represent a hybrid of human and extraterrestrial DNA, or that it could be a previously undiscovered type of hominin, a distant relative of modern humans. Others argue that Arta's unique appearance might be due to environmental factors or an unknown ancient practice. The fire mummies. Deep in the misty mountains of the Philippines lies a haunting yet fascinating secret: the fire mummies of Cagayan. These ancient remains preserved in caves offer a glimpse into the traditions, beliefs, and artistry of the Ibaloy people, an indigenous group from the northern Philippines. Their story is one of ingenuity, reverence, and mystery. The fire mummies were found in the cool, dark caves of Cagayan, located in the province of Benguet. These caves, nestled in the Cordillera mountain range, were once sacred burial sites for the Ibaloy people. The mummies had been there for centuries, undisturbed, until the modern world began to encroach on their hidden resting places. Some caves were discovered by accident, while others were known to local communities who kept their existence a closely guarded secret. Over time, curious explorers, researchers, and, unfortunately, looters brought attention to these remarkable remains. Each mummy, seated in a fetal position, was wrapped in layers of mystery and tradition. What makes these mummies so special is the fire-based mummification technique, a method not commonly seen elsewhere in the world. This painstaking process started even before the person had passed away. When someone was nearing the end of their life, they were given a drink of a salty concoction to dehydrate their body from the inside out. After death, the preservation process began immediately. The body was carefully washed and then placed in a sitting position above a fire. Smoke and heat from the fire slowly dried the body, removing all moisture while keeping it intact. This smoking process could take weeks and required constant attention to ensure that the body was evenly preserved. Next, the body was treated with herbs and plant oils, which helped to keep it from decaying and added an aromatic layer to the preservation. Finally, the dried and treated body was placed in a wooden coffin and buried in a cave high in the mountains. This process wasn't just about preserving the body, it was also deeply spiritual. The Ibaloy believed that the mummification ritual helped the spirit transition to the afterlife and that the preserved body would watch over future generations. Witch marks. In 2019, a mysterious discovery in Creswell Crags, a stunning limestone gorge located in Scotland, captured the attention of archaeologists and historians alike. Hidden within the walls of a cave were strange symbols, unlike anything seen before. The discovery took place when a team of archaeologists was exploring the caves at Creswell Crags, a site known for its prehistoric rock art and ancient burial sites. While conducting their research, they came across carvings that appeared out of place compared to the older art found in the area. These symbols were not the typical designs seen in ancient cave paintings, but were mysterious scratches and symbols, etched into the stone in a way that suggested they had been deliberately made. What made these marks stand out were their unusual shapes, circles, lines, and scratches that didn't seem to serve any practical purpose. Initially, no one could quite figure out what they were. As the investigation into the witch marks continued, some archaeologists and historians started to connect these strange symbols to witchcraft and superstition. The marks were believed to have been created to ward off witches, evil spirits, and other malevolent forces. It turns out that this wasn't a new or isolated practice. Similar markings have been found in other parts of Europe, often in locations like houses, churches, or barns, places where people thought witches or dark forces might try to gain entry. The theory goes that these carvings were meant to protect the inhabitants of the area from harmful supernatural influences. In medieval and early modern times, fear of witches and the power they were believed to wield was widespread. People were terrified of witchcraft, which they thought could bring misfortune, disease, or death. In an attempt to safeguard themselves from such dangers, people would carve symbols, like these ones at Creswell Crags, into walls, doorways, or other important places. These symbols were thought to have magical properties that could protect against witches or prevent spirits from entering. Some of the marks at Creswell Crags resemble symbols seen in medieval protective rituals, such as a simple X or a circle with intersecting lines. These marks are believed to have been seen as protective charms, and some even speculate that they were made during times of social turmoil, when witch hunts and accusations were common. The Terracotta Army. In 1974, a farmer in China made an accidental discovery that would change our understanding of history forever. While digging a well near the base of Mount Li, not far from the ancient city of Xi'an, he uncovered something extraordinary: a collection of life-size statues buried deep in the earth. These figures, it turned out, were part of the famed Terracotta Army, one of the most remarkable and eerie archaeological finds in the world. The discovery didn't stop there. More and more statues were uncovered, and they soon realized that they were part of an enormous underground army built to guard the tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. What was even more surprising was the scale of what they had found. The army consisted of over 8,000 life-size soldiers, along with chariots, horses, and weapons, each one painstakingly crafted out of terracotta, a type of clay that was baked hard. It turned out that these figures had been buried for over 2,000 years, meant to protect the emperor in his journey into the afterlife. When you hear about an army of statues, you might imagine something a little smaller or simpler, but the terracotta army is nothing short of a monumental feat. The figures range in height from around 1.7 meters to 2 meters, almost the size of real people. Each soldier was made with incredible attention to detail. The faces of the warriors are all unique, with different expressions and hairstyles. No two soldiers are exactly alike, which suggests that the artisans who worked on these figures put in extraordinary care and effort. The soldiers are arranged in battle formations, just like a real military unit. The front rows consist of infantry soldiers, followed by rows of cavalrymen and archers, with officers and commanders placed strategically in the back. This arrangement mirrors the way an actual army would have been structured. Even the weapons the soldiers hold are incredibly detailed, with some warriors carrying swords, spears, and crossbows, all made from bronze, while others stand ready with shields or armor. One of the most remarkable things about this discovery is that the soldiers' chariots and horses were all buried in separate pits, carefully arranged to reflect the actual formation of an army preparing for battle. The immense scale of the burial site, which covers a vast area of about 20 square miles, gives a sense of how much effort and planning went into creating this underground force. The purpose of the Terracotta Army is what makes this discovery so chilling. These lifelike warriors were buried with Emperor Qin Shi Huang to guard him in the afterlife. The emperor, who ruled from 221 to 210 BCE, was obsessed with immortality and the idea of life after death. He believed that by having such an army of statues created, he would ensure that he had protection and power in the world beyond. Underwater Mayan artifacts. Imagine diving into a crystal-clear cave underwater, surrounded by intricate rock formations and eerie silence, only to find pieces of history that have been hidden for thousands of years. That's exactly what happened in the depths of Sac Actun, the largest underwater cave system in the world, located in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. What began as a quest to map these incredible submerged caverns turned into one of the most fascinating archaeological discoveries ever made. Sac Actun, which means white cave in Mayan, is a sprawling maze of tunnels and chambers filled with water. Stretching over 215 miles, it holds the title of the largest underwater cave system on the planet. For years, divers and researchers explored its labyrinth, but in 2018, a group of explorers made a stunning connection between Sac Actun and another large cave system called Dos Ojos, proving they were actually part of the same network. Deep in the cave system, archaeologists found human remains, bones of ancient animals, and Mayan ceremonial artifacts, all remarkably preserved thanks to the unique environment. One of the most haunting finds was a set of human skeletons believed to date back more than 10,000 years. These remains likely belong to some of the earliest inhabitants of the Americas, offering valuable clues about how humans migrated and lived during the Ice Age. Alongside the human remains, divers uncovered the skeletons of extinct animals, such as giant sloths, saber-toothed cats, and even an ancient elephant-like creature called a gomphother. These animals likely wandered into the caves during drier periods and became trapped, leaving behind a fossil record that tells the story of a lost ecosystem. Perhaps the most fascinating discoveries, though, were the Mayan artifacts. Researchers found pottery, carved stone objects, and tools used for rituals. In some areas, they uncovered altars and other ceremonial structures, suggesting that these caves held deep spiritual significance for the Maya people. Despite all that we've learned, many questions remain. Why did the Maya choose to risk their lives venturing so deep into these underwater caves? What other secrets might still lie hidden in the uncharted corners of Sac-Actun? Underground city. Imagine doing a bit of home improvement and accidentally uncovering a hidden passage that leads to an ancient underground city. Sounds like something out of a movie, doesn't it? But that's what happened to a man in Turkey back in 1963. While renovating his home, he stumbled upon a secret that had been buried for centuries. A vast underground city called Derinkuyu, hidden right beneath his feet. Word of the discovery quickly spread, and archaeologists were called in to investigate. What they uncovered was nothing short of incredible. A massive underground city, complete with living spaces, storage rooms, and an intricate ventilation system. This wasn't just a cave, it was a carefully designed city that could house thousands of people. Derinkuyu isn't your average underground shelter. It's a sprawling multi-level city that goes down at least 18 stories, reaching depths of more than 200 feet. Imagine a skyscraper turned upside down and buried underground, and you'll get a sense of its scale. The city was built to be entirely self-sufficient. There were living quarters, kitchens, and storage rooms for food and water. Researchers even found stables for livestock, which means the inhabitants could keep animals underground with them. One of the most impressive features is the ventilation system, a series of shafts that allowed fresh air to circulate through the city. Even though it's so deep underground, people could survive there for extended periods. The city also had an ingenious security system. Heavy stone doors, shaped like millstones, could be rolled into place to seal off tunnels and protect the inhabitants from invaders. These doors could only be opened from the inside, adding an extra layer of safety. The origins of Derinkuyu are still shrouded in mystery. Archaeologists believe it was first built around the 8th or 7th century BCE, but who exactly created it is a matter of debate. Some researchers think it was built by the Phrygian tribes, who were known for their advanced engineering and use of soft volcanic rock, which is common in the Cappadocia region. Others suggest it could have been the work of the Hittites, an ancient Anatolian civilization. The catacombs of Paris. Deep beneath the bustling streets of Paris lies a hidden world that feels straight out of a ghost story. The catacombs of Paris. These underground tunnels and chambers are not just dark and mysterious, they are home to the remains of over 6 million people. The story of the catacombs begins in the 18th century, a time when Paris was facing a serious problem. Its cemeteries were overflowing. Back then, the city's graveyards were so overcrowded that bodies couldn't decompose properly. The smell alone was unbearable, and health concerns were growing as diseases began to spread. The worst offender was the Cimetière des Innocents, the largest cemetery in Paris. It was located right in the heart of the city, near where people lived, shopped, and worked. After centuries of use, the cemetery became a public health nightmare. In some cases, walls of nearby buildings started collapsing under the weight of piled-up remains. Something had to be done. At the same time, Paris had an extensive network of abandoned limestone quarries running beneath the city. These tunnels had been used for centuries to extract stone for building Paris's iconic structures, but they were now empty. In 1786, city officials came up with a grim but practical idea. Why not use the quarries as a massive underground ossuary, a place to store the bones from the overcrowded cemeteries? The process of transferring the remains began that same year. Workers would dig up the bones, load them onto carts, and transport them through the streets at night to avoid alarming the public. Imagine the eerie sight of wagon loads of skulls and bones rolling silently through the moonlit streets of Paris. Today, the catacombs of Paris cover an astonishing 200 miles of tunnels, though only a small portion is open to the public. The ossuary itself contains the remains of over 6 million people, making it one of the largest mass burial sites in the world. By the early 19th century, the catacombs began to attract visitors. People were curious about this strange and morbid underground world, and guided tours were soon organized. Today, the catacombs are one of Paris's most popular attractions, drawing hundreds of thousands of tourists every year. The secret chamber in Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore, with its towering faces of 4 US presidents, is a symbol of American history and pride. Millions visit each year to admire the majestic monument carved into the granite of the Black Hills in South Dakota. But hidden behind this iconic facade is a little-known mystery, a secret chamber tucked deep within the mountain. Behind Abraham Lincoln's head lies an entryway that leads into the heart of the mountain. This hidden space was carved out during the 1930s but remained incomplete when the project was halted due to funding issues and Borglum's death in 1941. Today, it's known as the Hall of Records, a mysterious, unfinished room that holds a story of ambition, creativity, and an unfulfilled dream. To ensure that future generations understood the significance of the monument, Borglum envisioned a Hall of Records, a chamber that would preserve important documents, artifacts, and symbols of American history. His plan was to carve an impressive room deep into the mountain and fill it with treasures such as the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and records of key events in the country's history. The hall was meant to serve as a time capsule, a way to communicate with the people of the distant future. Borglum wanted visitors thousands of years from now to understand what the United States stood for and why Mount Rushmore was created. While Borglum's vision was inspiring, the reality of creating such an ambitious project proved difficult. The carving of the president's faces alone was a monumental task, requiring years of labor and intricate work. When funding became scarce during the Great Depression, priorities shifted, and the Hall of Records took a back seat. For decades, the secret chamber was almost forgotten, overshadowed by the grandeur of the president's faces. It wasn't until much later that efforts were made to honor Borglum's dream, even if only partially. And that's it for our journey through some of the creepiest discoveries ever made in caves. If you enjoyed this dive into the creepy and mysterious, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more spine-chilling content.